What is the legal issue that the court is being asked to decide?
Well, Emily, the court is being asked to look at a 20-year-old law, 21 years old, that's called the Stored Communications Act. And the question is whether that law lets prosecutors get information that is being stored overseas. The law doesn't really say specifically whether it does, and the court will have to deal with that somewhat archaic law in this modern era of digital privacy.
So is it a surprise that the Supreme Court agreed to take this up?
It's not a surprise because the government, the Trump administration, said basically, look, we have hundreds, maybe even thousands of criminal investigations that in our view are going to be jeopardized if we can't get access to information being held overseas by not just Microsoft, but other companies like Google and Yahoo. Any technology company that stores information on the cloud and keeps some of it overseas could potentially be affected by the case.
Now, on that note, I recently interviewed Andy Jassy, who's the CEO of Amazon Web Services, obviously huge cloud platform, and he suggested that these issues actually don't come up that often, where the government is asking for information on customers that it was stored overseas. Take a listen to what he had to say.
When you encrypt the data and you keep the keys yourself, even in the odd event that a government asks, to try and get access, and for us, they have to, if they ask, we don't just say yes. We always advocate on behalf of our customers. They have to come with a subpoena, and even in the odd cases where they might be able to come with a subpoena and have a legal right to the data, if you've encrypted the data and you own the keys, there's not much people can do with it.
You mentioned, hundreds of cases, Greg. I mean, what do we know about how often governments are actually asking for this kinds of information?
Well, the federal government suggests that it is an awful lot, and it's not just the federal government, it's also the states. There are 33 states that have joined with the Trump administration in asking the Supreme Court to take it up. I mean, one key issue there may be whether information is encrypted. That's not an issue in this case. There's no reason to think that the record's pretty sparse, but there's no reason to think that the government would have to overcome that hurdle. It just says, let us have the information, and that will be sufficient.
So what do we know about how the court is likely to think about this particular Microsoft case?
Well, there are a lot of cross currents in this case. So you might think it's a law enforcement issue. It might be, the conservatives might be more inclined to side with the federal government. But the court as a whole has been rather protective of digital privacy. Some cases in recent years have been unanimous on that score. And then there's also the question that what we're doing here is interpreting a federal statute. And it's generally the conservative justices who are most reluctant to say that a federal statute can apply overseas, which is the legal issue in this case. So, there's a lot of things going on in this case, and it's really hard at this stage to predict how the case is going to come out.